partnership with OpenAI. Next slide, please, Max. So first of all, it's good to understand that Microsoft and OpenAI have partnered together to bring this new capability and new technology to the public, to our customers, to the enterprise as well. And this partnership allows us as Microsoft to bring these capabilities to our enterprise customers through Azure, right? Now, there are four or three main models that we like to talk about. So the first one is the GPT family of models, which is basically concerned with generating and understanding language-based content, right? So text content, also if you have a call, you can do a call transcription and change it into text, and that text can be understood using the GPT family of models, right? The second model here that you see on the screen is the Codex model, which is very similar to GPT, but it's just focused on development and coding, right? So if you are a developer and you're trying to write a piece of code, you can use Codex to help you generate the code on your behalf, right? So you don't have to write every line of code, every function, every script, right? So it basically increases your productivity and enables you to do a lot more with Codex. The third one here on the slide is DALI, and this family of models allow you to generate and create artificially created content of images, right? So this is very useful for marketing departments, or I'm trying to create something totally synthetic. I can do that using the DALI family of models. And the last but not least, ChatGPT, which is kind of like an implementation of the GPT family, but in a chatbot kind of experience. So you're able to leverage this great innovation of generative AI, understanding what you are saying as a user, and of course, allowing ChatGPT to actually look at massive amounts of content and respond back to you from that language-based content in a very human-like way. So these are the three main families, and of course, ChatGPT as an implementation of that. Now, here on this slide is basically just a few examples of these models in action. So in the first one on GPT, on the left-hand side, you say on the prompt, can you summarize this personal finance article in 2 sentences for my tax filing? And you share, for example, a document or a link or an article. And basically, the GPT family will basically go read the entire document and try to summarize it as per your instructions into 2 sentences. So this is very powerful in the sense of if you have a lot of content, maybe PDFs, Word documents that have a lot of text, and you're trying to summarize it, you can use the GPT family of products to that capability. The second one, Codex here. So in this example, we're showing a SQL table, right? So this is the SQL table with all the column names. And basically, I'm asking it to create a SQL query on my behalf with all the customers in Texas named Jane. So if I'm not familiar with T-SQL or writing SQL-like queries, this will help me generate the SQL query on my behalf. And of course, this applies to different languages as well. And this is, of course, a very basic example, but we can customize it based on the prompt, and we can get more complex as we need to. And on the third line here, on the third column, you see DALI. So in this case, we're asking it to generate an image of a ball of fire with vibrant colors to show the speed of innovation and media and entertainment company, right? So in this case, this is a totally artificially generated image, and basically it uses a lot of trained images in the past to come up with this generative image. Of course, you can customize it as you go along. So you can say, okay, I'm not liking the colors, I'm not liking the design, show me something different. And of course, the DALI model can enable that for you to generate different ideas. And it's very powerful for people who are trying to create logos, marketing content, and using that capability enables you to be more productive in that space. In the last example here, so this is a customer service kind of example where a user is using his Xbox and he's trying to troubleshoot an issue that he's not able to turn his Xbox on. So he reaches out to the support and they're asking him, okay, he's asking them, I'm having trouble getting my Xbox turned on. The response is coming from a ChatGPT based application. So this is a model that's been trained on all the responses and all the issues that happened in the past. And basically, we're using ChatGPT as an interface to respond back to the user. So, of course, the response, there are a few things you can throw to try to troubleshoot. And then, of course, as a normal conversation with a human agent, this is a back and forth conversation. So you can keep on asking more questions. You don't have to repeat your previous statements. It will understand the context of the conversation and will continue on as if it has a memory of everything that was said. So that's a very powerful capability that will allow you to continue the conversation, ask a few questions, deviate from the conversation, come back to the same point again and ask more follow-up questions, and it will be able to respond. So it's very powerful in that sense. Next slide, please, Max. Now, we as Microsoft, we're trying to bring this innovation that we did. We partnered up with OpenAI on to our products and technologies, right? So, of course, Max will spend the rest of the slides focus on M365 Copilot, but of course, there are other areas where Microsoft has invested and brought OpenAI capabilities into their line of technologies. One of which is Microsoft Fabric. This is a new announcement that we just made in the last build, where basically we have a unified analytics experience, and embedded in that experience is a Copilot agent that you can start asking questions to your data. You can ask it to generate reports and dashboards through Power BI-like experiences. And of course, it will help you with leveraging other models as well from Azure Machine Learning and so on and so forth. So a Copilot can become your assistant in your day-to-day activities when you're using the Microsoft ecosystem of technologies and platforms. Of course, I'll hand over now to Max. Max, please go to the next slide and focus on M365.
Thanks very much. Great. So the next part I'm going to touch on is mostly related to people's day-to-day. So when you're looking at how does my day-to-day work look like, the different tools that I use, and basically how does AI come and help me in that day-to-day. So I'll give you a brief overview and explanation, and then I'll show you specific examples of how that would look like going forward. So what I'm going to be talking about is something called Microsoft 365 Copilot. This was announced around a month and a half ago, and it's so basically this is going to be the future of productivity, and this is something that is coming in the next 5, 6, 7 months. We're waiting on the final announcement around the date for it, but this is something really nice and very impressive I'd like to show you. So the two key topics that I'm hearing about a lot, and as I mentioned before, I focus on modern work for Microsoft. One is the employee experience, and second one is AI. And I've spent the last probably 4 months working with a lot of customers on that AI piece, because everybody wants to see what does that translate to in my day-to-day. And this is where the idea of Copilot came in. We're all used to this, let's say, autopilot mode, where we, to some extent, trust blindly that a certain technology. Let's take an example of Google Maps or online shopping or the type of recommendations, etc. The idea in Microsoft is how do we bring that AI and make it our co-pilot in our day-to-day, our personal assistant in everyday tasks. And what I'm going to show you now is a brief introduction video from Microsoft 365 Copilot, and then I'll go into more detail around each one of the different aspects and how will that look in your day-to-day. So here's Copilot. So I hope you enjoyed the video. What I'm going to do now is walk you through a bit in more detail. What does that actually mean? So what does Copilot do? Copilot combines three different things. Combines large language models, so such as GPT framework, etc., which basically give you the capability to parse the data and take natural language, so typing in everyday words a certain query, and then translating that into prompts or requests that will then go into your data in the Microsoft Graph, and then that you can access through the Microsoft 365 application. So all of these together are Microsoft 365 Copilot. What is it going to look like in the day-to-day? There will be two ways. One is when you look at your everyday applications, so Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, and Teams. And so basically you'll have it, let's say, as a like widget on the side of it or a little application inside. And the second way is a completely new experience inside of Microsoft Teams called Business Chat. And Business Chat will be, take it, your everyday personal assistant, which you can ask anything related to Microsoft 365 content. The idea around it is on, let's say, three key pillars. One is on creativity. So we want to help people express themselves to the best of their capability, and more than to the best of their capabilities, let's say, because people might have great ideas, but starting with a blank canvas with some of the solutions that you have. So if you have a great idea and you want to create a presentation around it, but you're not great with PowerPoint, it kind of blocks your creativity. The second part is on productivity. How do we make people do more with the tools that they have? And third is from an up-leveling the people's skills. So typically what we see is, if you take an average user, he can probably use 5% of what Excel can actually do. I consider myself a great Excel user and I can probably use 10%. The idea is, how do we open up that remaining 90% for users? So the fact that you can query it by natural language, you're opening up all the rest of those capabilities to people. So let's look at maybe more specific examples. I think Word is a very good example from a creativity standpoint. The challenge of opening a Word document and having it blank is always something that can be, let's say, not intimidating, but it's not a great place to start. And the idea is, how do we bring AI and help create at least a base to work on? So what Copilot would look like is what you're seeing here. You'd be able to query it, maybe reference to a previous document, say, create me a presentation or a draft around this. And it will go and pull the data from like left and right, create that proposal for you, and then give you the option on the right to tweak it the way you want. So, you can directly query it saying, add, let's say, the look of a specific another presentation you had, and it will also give you prompts that you can see here, such as add a summary, add more images, etc., to give you some recommendations on things that can be done. So putting this document together, which probably be the basis of the final project, will take you, let's say, 5 minutes or 3 minutes, versus this could have taken a full morning to type and put together, or even more, a day. If we take as a next step, once you have that document and you want to put it into a presentation for an alignment meeting internally, similar experience. So you can go and say, okay, create a presentation based on that proposal that we've created. Automatically, Copilot, which is this widget that you see on the right, will go and prepare that whole deck and slide for you. So AI is not something new. We've had something called Designer inside of PowerPoint before, but what this does with Copilot is taking it to the next level. So you're able to create the entire deck from scratch, and then you can tweak it as needed. So if you want to take a slide with a lot of words, say, I want to make this, okay, let's make this more visual and less wordy, and put the words into the speaker notes. It can do this. It can add all the animations for you. It can do all of that part. So, both from a creativity turn, but even from a skilling perspective, this is really taking this to the next level. Of course, if anybody has any questions, feel free to add them into the chat, and I'm happy to answer anything that you have. Next part, something that's can also get very complicated, which is Excel. By bringing the power of AI, we're able to analyze and assess large raw data in ways that would take a lot of time on a daily basis. So you can automatically ask Copilot to analyze specific content and bring out the right trends, the right dashboards that you want to see. It can create charts, etc. So you can see here the example with raw data. It will also automatically create, for example, some charts, as well as a recap on specific products and growth that you were looking for. And even more, if you want to take it to another other step. So what would have growth looked like if there was a decline in a specific area? And it will create um, a what if table right beside it. So again, in my previous, let's say, life before this role, I used to be in marketing and strategy. And I can very, very well imagine how on a day-to-day this would be a game changer. So that's on the, let's say, creativity side. From a productivity, let me give a couple of examples again. So one, which we, all kind of face at some point, is having a cluttered mailbox in Outlook. And I think 14 emails is very light versus what my mailbox might look like sometimes. But what Copilot will do is it'll help you catch up on all your emails, be able to identify which are the top priority ones you need to address. If you have a thread of 20 emails, you can click summarize and it will give you a summary at the top. If you go in Outlook mobile, it can recap the whole thread and prepare some answers for you, which you can either select from the recommended or you can custom make one and then simply decide, okay, I want to adjust it and make it short, medium, long, or change the tone to neutral, casual, or even make it a poem. The sky's the limit on what you want to do here. So the next one I'm going to show is another one, which is, I think, a game changer as well when it comes to the meetings experience. What Copilot is going to bring, and one part of this is actually already there, which is the meeting recap, but it'll give you the ability now to, instead of yes or no, you'll be able to follow a meeting. And this will tell the organizer that you're not joining, but that you're going to get a recap at the end of the meeting. So when the meeting finishes, you'll have this recap at the top, which will show you, and this is all AI generated, what is the summary of what was discussed? What are the key notes around it? What are the key tasks that have been assigned in that meeting? And you'll see on the left there, what are the topics that were discussed, for example, and the different chapters. Copilot on the right will then let you query that meeting. So say, what were the key things discussed in that meeting? What are some of the factors that were mentioned? And so on. So the ability to query. So this is no longer just a transcript of the meeting. This is the ability to ask questions in natural language about what happened in the meeting. And for each one, it will give you a note showing where in the transcript is this answer coming from. And to take it further in a meeting, so if when you join a meeting and you're, let's say, 10 minutes late, you'll have the ability to now say, okay, recap this meeting and what happened so far. And it'll give you a recap already of, by bullet points, everything that was discussed. And you can even go further and say, how does the group feel about this meeting? Or how does the group feel about the status of our inventory, as the example? It can do sentiment analysis as well and recommend all the different things on that front. So this is really taking that meeting experience to the next level. And finally, on the up leveling and skilling perspective, I want to show you a specific case, which is the business chat that I mentioned before. So what you see here at the top is there's an extra, let's say, contact inside of Teams called Copilot. And this is that second experience I mentioned. It's not in as part of your day-to-day application. It's a specific app and a chatbot inside of Teams, which will basically act as your assistant. So if you're looking, for example, to pull data from a specific Excel files to identify key trends, it could do that. But then it can shift it into throughout the different Microsoft applications, all from one place. So you can say, okay, these are the projections, these are the top risks that you see. Okay, I want to create a SWOT analysis based on this. So it will do so in Microsoft Loop. Again, these are all recommendations that you can then go and tweak and adjust it based on your needs or your additional insights that you might have on this. So you can adjust it, and then once that's been done, you can say, okay, now I have a clear SWOT. Add this in a slide format in this presentation. It will then go and take it through. So you see that you're navigating through all the Microsoft 365 products in one place. So take that slide, create it, and add it inside of the exec review in time for your presentation. So as I mentioned before, Microsoft 365 Copilot currently is in private preview, which means that we only have very few customers worldwide that are currently even testing it. It's not globally available, but this is something that's coming soon, and we wanted to give you all of first a heads up on what does it look like, what will be your day-to-day experience. As an example, we have something called GitHub Copilot, which is to help developers and complete their code as well. This has already been released, and as an example, we're already seeing that people are 88% more productive. From an end user experience, they're having a very nice experience. They're more satisfied with their day-to-day, their work, and they're spending a lot less time searching for content. So we've already seen the positive impact on certain of our products, and I can't wait for it to come on Microsoft 365 Copilot. Thank you very much for the time today and the opportunity to present this. I hope you found this insightful, and stay tuned for any new announcements. Thank you.